And that, I think, is an excellent segue to why we are here today. Because today the European Commission has adopted 2 initiatives that will help build a stronger and more resilient European economy. We have put forward legislation that will give us the power to tackle foreign subsidies that harm fair competition in the single market. And we have also updated the industrial strategy that we adopted a year ago last spring. Both initiatives are firmly based on our European strengths: openness to trade, fair competition, and diversity in size. And let me start with our proposal on foreign subsidies. Europe is a trade and investment superpower. In 2019, the stock of foreign direct investment in Europe was worth more than 7 trillion euros. That's a quarter of all the foreign direct investment in the world. And that openness to investment is good for us. It supports growth and innovation, and 16 million jobs depends on it. But openness requires fairness. When you open your home to guests, and wow, I hope we can soon do that, well, then, of course, I think you, as I, expect your guests to treat your belongings, your furniture, as you would do it yourself, with the same sense of care, because they are your guests. And it's the same with our single market. We want every company that operates in Europe, no matter where it comes from, to respect our house rules. And one of the oldest rules that we have is that we don't allow subsidies which harms fair competition. For more than 60 years, our state aid rules have made sure that aid from European governments doesn't undermine fair competition on the market. But until now, companies have been free to use foreign subsidies to buy up businesses here in Europe. Some have been able to undercut their competitors in public tenders, not because they're more efficient, but because they get financial support from foreign countries. And that's not fair towards those companies who do not get that kind of subsidies. It's not fair on European workers, nor on consumers, if subsidies drive the best companies out of the market. It has to stop. And that is why last June we published a white paper with ideas about how to solve this problem. And today we are presenting our proposal for a new regulation to stop foreign subsidies harming competition in Europe. This regulation means that companies which get foreign subsidies will need our approval also under this framework before they implement big mergers in Europe. Companies will have to tell us what subsidies they have received when they bid in large public tenders. And they won't be able to win those tenders without our okay. And we'll have the power, on our own initiative, to investigate any company to see if it has received foreign subsidies that harm competition in Europe. To do that investigation, we'll have similar powers as the ones that we have already in competition cases. We'll be able to demand information from companies and inspect their premises if need be. And we'll be able to fine companies that do not cooperate with us if they do not tell us the truth. With that information at hand, we will be able to judge if a foreign subsidy harms competition and whether, on balance, that harm is outweighed by the benefit to the single market. We'll give companies a chance to fix the problem we find by submitting binding commitments that compensate for the harm that the subsidy does. But if companies are not willing to do that, we'll impose redressive measures ourselves, or in case of large tenders or acquisitions, we won't let them complete the transaction or win the bid. We'll be able to make companies sell parts of their businesses or give fair access to subsidized infrastructure, such as a port or an airport. We'll have the power to order a company to pay back the subsidy, of course, if we can make sure that such a repayment is effective in practice. And we'll have the power to enforce these decisions with fines that can go up to 10% of the company turnover. So this new regulation, together with state aid rules, will make us the first trading bloc in the world with tools against harmful subsidies from both inside in the single market and from non-EU countries. And that, in turn, will help us make our markets more fair and contestable. Europe's economy is open, and it's closely interlinked with the rest of the world. And we are committed to keep it that way, focusing our international cooperation based on fair and effective competition. At the same time, we will act assertively when that is needed to keep our economies working well. Because if our openness is to remain a strength, we must stay vigilant to ensure fair competition for all companies operating in the European Union. We are also presenting today the update of the industrial strategy, the strategy that we launched a year ago. And the aim of the strategy is to help Europe's industry lead the twin transition towards climate neutrality and digital leadership. That is our strategic choices. It builds on our very strong European industrial base, the diversity, the talent of the people, and their innovative capacity to enhance competitiveness. And we're relaunching it now, updating it with what we have learned during the pandemic. I would encourage you to have a look at the 3 staff working documents. I know it's a lot, but they are just very, very good. These are important analysis. It gives you a lot of sound evidence of facts as a base for our policy making. And people in many businesses, they have suffered. And this goes for a number of sectors, including tourism, the cultural and creative industries, textile, mobility. At the same time, this past year have also shown our societies and economies at their best. We have seen healthcare professionals and frontline workers continuing doing their job despite very difficult circumstances. Essential services from our electricity grid, our internet infrastructure, waste collection, that has continued to deliver throughout the crisis. It shows that fundamental resilience of our economies. And businesses have quickly adapted to change, moving work online, changing production patterns, and many companies, including small and medium-sized ones, well, they have switched production to meet urgent needs, whether for personal protective equipment, hand sanitizers, most recently vaccines. Thierry knows all about that with his incredible work on the vaccines. Many others have made the shift to e-commerce, or they have used digital tools to find new suppliers if supply chains close down. The past year has also shown us how blockages to the free movement of people, persons, goods and services, how that can harm our economies. Disruptions in supply chains, well, that leads to lack of essential products, high volumes of non-compliant goods, and poor coordination, well, that has challenged us heavily. We felt stronger than ever. I lost the page. What a disaster. Well, what we felt stronger than ever was the point of our single market. And this is why we are launching today a single market emergency instrument to make sure that we have the necessary tools if this is ever going to happen again. And then we made 2 other initiatives that I will mention. One is just to tease for what Valdis is going to talk to you about. Because coming from 5,000 different products, our services analyzed our dependencies, zooming in on 137, it's give or take 6% of the value of imports, seeing where we have vulnerabilities, and then, of course, also to solve it. And here the balance is obviously essential. And that essential balance is that we can find ways to make sure that we deal with our dependencies, either by supply chain diversification, by stockpiling, by innovation, and sometimes, of course, also to make sure that we know that we have the necessary supplies here. And what we have seen in balancing these dependencies, well, they are indeed that we need the partnerships. And we do that to do a balance between strengthening our own capacity in strategic areas and ensuring that the Union reinforces its position in global value chains by diversifying external trade, cooperating with our international partners. And that is what open strategic autonomy is about. Because, just to end, partnership is always the best recipe for success. A genuine dialogue with industry and stakeholders is crucial to us, and this is also what today's work shows. I'm happy that we managed to launch the Industrial Forum, even within the pandemic, because that helps us to shape future directions. And we are building on the productive experience in the Battery Alliance, led by my colleague Maros Šefčovič. So we can develop similar initiatives in the areas of raw material, clean hydrogen, already on their way. And now we are preparing the launch of alliances on processors and semiconductors technologies, as well on industrial data, edge, and cloud. Because working like this, we can produce results. Finally, we continue our review of the competition rules to make sure that they support the green and digital transition while staying firm on the core principle of fair competition in an open European market to the benefit of all Europeans. Thank you.